If you've missed a mortgage payment or think that you're going to fall behind soon, let me tell you that you are not alone. And I also want to tell you that if you're in a situation like that, you should have options. But before we even discuss options or a resolution to your problems, I actually want to take a step back and help you better understand exactly what happens from the time you miss that very first mortgage payment all the way up through what could be a potential foreclosure. Now, I'm Chris Nelson, a real estate agent with over 20 years in distressed sales and helping homeowners exercise and understand their foreclosure prevention options here in the state of Pennsylvania. So if any of that sounds like it appeals or applies to you, let's dive in. Now, obviously we're talking about late payments, so let's start with some good news. The first thing to know is that when you miss your first mortgage payment, your mortgage servicer is not going to file for foreclosure right away. As a matter of fact, you probably won't even hear from your mortgage servicer until you're about 15 or 16 days late. Most mortgage servicers will actually give you a 10 or 15 day grace period to apply your mortgage payment before they start to tack on any late fees or any type of efforts to have you make that missing payment. So generally in the first 30 days, not much is going to happen. You may receive a few phone calls during that time frame, and again, that's usually just to help them get a pulse on where you're at with the payment and when they might expect. Now, if you weren't able to make your mortgage payment and you're now going into the second month, once you get to 45 days late, you are definitely on the radar. You're going to start hearing from your mortgage servicer more often, and at that point, they should be giving you a direct contact, a one-on-one contact that's going to help you really understand what those options are or what your options are. And generally those options are going to be some type of repayment plan or forbearance or something along those lines. But this is exactly when you're going to be hearing from your mortgage servicer on a daily basis until they hear from you. So one thing that I always recommend that you do is don't put your head in the sand and think that you're going to look up one day and all your problems will be solved. One of the best things that you can do when you are falling behind is to keep your mortgage servicer in the loop. Now, you may also notice something relatively interesting happen right around this 45 or maybe even 60 days of delinquency. You might see people riding around your home taking photos. And the reason they're doing that is generally when the loan goes delinquent, your mortgage company or your mortgage servicer is going to order what's referred to as a BPO or a broker's price opinion. And this broker's price opinion is designed to do a couple things, but really what the servicer wants to know is, are you occupying the property? And they also want to get an idea of what the property is worth in its condition. Because if you are not occupying the property, there's something in your mortgage documents that basically says, hey, if this property is found to be abandoned, we, the mortgage servicer, reserve the right to secure that asset. We reserve the right to make sure that it's not being, mishandled, mistreated. We make sure that the roof isn't leaking, all these different things. So if you see someone riding by taking photos, don't be alarmed. It's just the bank doing a little bit of due diligence. Now, I want to take a second right now to just let you know that if you are this far behind in your mortgage, 45, 60 days, and you're trying to figure out exactly what your options are, I would love to be a resource. So my contact information is listed in the description below. Feel free to reach out. Now, if the loan continues to go without payment and now we are more than 60 days delinquent, the frequency of calls and letters that you receive are definitely going to start to increase. As a matter of fact, not only will they increase, but you will probably also start to see that your credit score will start to go down. After 30 days of delinquency, I should have noted a second ago that you will have a negative impact or negative report on your credit score or your credit report. And then every 30 days that goes by without a payment, you will then see another impact or another negative check mark on your credit. So after 60 days, you're probably going to have 2 late payments on your credit report at that point. You're going to start to receive extra phone calls from the mortgage servicer, and you're also going to start to receive written communication. So again, as I mentioned, if you're not communicating with your servicer, do your best because it's going to limit the amount of phone calls, the amount of yikes letters that you get in the mail, and I refer to them as yikes letters because they're scary. They're designed to get your attention for you to take action. Make a mortgage payment. And if there are BPOs being done at that time and the property is found to be vacant, this is where you run the risk of going back to the property and not being able to access the property because the bank or the mortgage servicer will change those locks. As I mentioned, they reserve the right to secure the asset and they have to get inside in order to do so. So definitely make sure that when you are communicating with your mortgage servicer, one of the questions they're going to ask you is, are you currently residing in the property? And don't fabricate this, but if you're staying in the property, make sure that they're aware. And if you're not staying in the property, let them know that you have intentions to return to the property, or again, you may find those locks changed. Now, hopefully we haven't gone this far and made it to a 90-day delinquency, but unfortunately, my friends, this is where things start to get a little bit. Now, hopefully you haven't made it this far where we are going into 90 days without having a mortgage payment applied to your account. But if you are 90 days delinquent, just to be transparent, this is where things start to get a little serious. This is where it very well may become a legal action, and you probably will receive something in the mail known as a acceleration letter. Basically, it's a letter stating that if you don't become current, they're going to initiate or file for foreclosure. Now, in the state of Pennsylvania, it's important to understand that every state is handled differently. It's important to know the difference between a judicial and non-judicial state, but in the state of Pennsylvania, lenders are required to notify the Pennsylvania Housing Authority, PHA. And to be honest, that's a good thing because PHA might also have other options or resources for you to help you stay in your home. But the most important thing to know is that at 90 days delinquent, that's where you're going to start but it's important to know that at 90 days delinquent, that's generally when things become a legal matter and the lender more than likely is going to file for foreclosure. And just like when you are 60 days late, there's also something unique that happens once you become 90 days late, or something unique that happens once the lender sends that escalation letter. Now, there's also something very important to know about once a notice of intent to foreclose or that escalation letter goes out. Unfortunately, that document gets recorded. It's a public notice. So right around this time, you probably will start to receive communication, whether it's phone calls, people stopping by your house. You're going to start to receive communication from people who are not your mortgage company. Some of the people might be offering you services to help you understand your options, very much like this video. Someone may be reaching out to sell you something, to sell you a service that would help you understand how to stay in your home. And there are some good ones and there are some bad ones. So if you do field one of those phone calls, make sure you do your due diligence and err on the side of caution if anybody is coming asking for money, because very much like what I'm trying to offer here, I'm not looking for any type of paycheck. But it's important to know that once that notice goes out, you very well may be notified or contacted by some other people outside of your mortgage company. Now, if 90 days has come and gone and we are unfortunately embarking on 120 days of missed payments, well, in the state of Pennsylvania, this is where your mortgage company legally is allowed to move forward and file for foreclosure. And at that point, once that foreclosure is filed, the options that you have, although you still have options, they do change, because prior to the foreclosure being filed, you could send in one mortgage or 1 month's of mortgage payment or 2 months or some variance of a mortgage payment. But once the foreclosure is filed, then that option is taken off the table. And your mortgage servicer, in order for them to take the loan out of foreclosure, they're looking for that loan status to become current. So at that point, you need to make whatever payment is going to bring that loan balance current. Anything less than, more than likely, is going to be sent back to you. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with a borrower and they said, Chris, I sent in my mortgage payment, but it was returned. Well, generally when that happens, it's because the mortgage servicer isn't able to apply the funds that you sent to your loan simply because of the status of the loans. So what you want to do is everything in your power to avoid the foreclosure being filed. Hence, this is why it's super important to communicate with your mortgage servicer. Because they don't have to file for foreclosure at 120 days. It's just that they're allowed to. Communication goes a long way. So at this point, as I mentioned, the options to retain your home or stay in your home start to minimize. You have less options once the foreclosure is filed. But if you're asking yourself, Chris, there's a foreclosure filed, or the foreclosure is going to be filed and I'm not able to make the payments, what are my options? Well, you have a few options. Now, the first is simply to call your mortgage servicer and find out if they would be willing to work out some type of a repayment plan or a forbearance. And to make it simple, a forbearance is taking the amount of months that you are delinquent and applying them to the end of the loan. So if you are 3 months delinquent and you are able to work out a forbearance, generally your mortgage servicer is going to say to you, your loan is current as of today, and as long as you make these mortgage payments on time, we will take the amount that you are behind, the delinquent amount, and apply that to the very tail end of your loan, meaning that your maturity date, or the date in which your loan will be paid off in full, would be 3 months further or longer than you originally thought when you took that mortgage out. So most people apply for that repayment plan or some sort of a forbearance. And if that isn't an option for you, you might be able to get a loan mod or a loan modification where the terms of the loan themselves are actually revisited and adjusted. Now, I can tell you now, the one thing that's not adjusted is the loan balance, meaning how much you owe. They're not going to change that. But something that they might change might be the interest rate, so that the amount of money that you owe them, the payments on a monthly basis, are lower, making it easier for you to stay on track. Or they might adjust the years, the amount of months left in the loan, again, subsequently taking the amount you were paying and bringing that down to something a little bit more comfortable for you to stay on track. So as I mentioned, there are several options, and hopefully one of them work for you. If not, there are things that you can do to avoid the foreclosure, such as considering selling the home, whether it be for enough to take out the proceeds, or if you're upside down, you could consider something like a short sale or maybe even a deed in lieu. But those are things that I will go over in another video, because as I mentioned, this video is designed specifically to help you understand what happens once you start missing those mortgage payments. And as I've mentioned before, if there's anything that I can do to help you understand what options you have, or if you just need a sounding board to really see exactly what's going on, another set of eyes, if you will, well, reach out. I would not mind. I'd be more than happy to help you understand the options that might apply. So once again, I'm Chris Nelson, a local real estate agent here in Pennsylvania with over 20 years of experience helping homeowners understand their options in the event they are facing a potential foreclosure. And if I can be of any value to you, please let me know. And if not, well, hopefully I'll see you on this channel again some other time. Until next time, take care.